And we are once again back, everybody, back for another podcast.
Mhm,
This time, you're going to notice there's only two of us here. There is,
mhm,
of course, me, your host, Armin. You guys can find me here at the link tree. And I will say before we get into this, we got two bonus topics here today. I want to talk about The Punisher's return to Disney with a Disney Plus special, and we're going to
yeah,
deep dive into the Wonder Woman video game debacle. That's the best way
yeah,
to talk about it.
oh yeah,
Your guys are going to want to stay tuned if you're a member for that topic. We're going to get into that, but of course, I'm not here alone. I am here with Tristan, who's this way.
yeah, yeah. Link trees there for a whole bunch of stuff. I got some videos coming out. I have I think a couple of days ago or close to a week, the last media video. I'm working on a very big one. This week should probably come out this weekend. I'm thinking it's probably gonna be around like 20 minutes long of just topics for me talking. Um, really nothing else going on. Still trying to chug along. Though it is interesting right now because of con season.
Mhm.
Because there's some stuff from if you guys are reading comics and stuff like that. Hopefully, the two of you that are, um, some stuff's coming out. WonderCon's coming out. I mean, it's gonna come in about a month. It's gonna be some movie and all that other stuff, and then
Yeah.
periodically up until this summer, and then into New York Comic Con.
We
Probably get
got
some more
WonderCon,
information.
and we also got CinemaCon for Hollywood
Yeah,
happening in Vegas in the
yeah,
first week of April. So like there's actually news coming. So
yeah.
you know. But yeah, stay tuned. When Tristan drops a new video, it'll pop up on the community
Mhm,
tab. I think I finally figured out how that works and the limitations on it. So there we go.
mhm,
So everybody, stay tuned for that. We do have three topics here for you. It was going to be four topics, but I kind of merged two of them into one because it makes sense. So without further ado,
mhm.
I should probably address this. Obviously, Mitch is not here
Yeah.
now.
Uh,
I, I can't describe or tell anybody why he's not here, but I'm told it has something to do with the identity of Jack the Ripper and Oliver Twist. That's
uh,
all I know. That's the
okay.
only British thing that I know. So,
Yeah.
is there anything else in Britain? I don't know. Something about tea
I thought,
parties, maybe.
yeah. I thought he was just going out for dinner with his family or something, because he's out of town apparently. But
Right,
yeah.
but everything I know about where he's from, there's only one town. It's London, and it's haunted by Jack the Ripper.
Oh, okay.
That's look. I'm American, okay? That's all I know.
Oh, I know. So you're doing those was it the History Channel, and they all did those holiday specials, and they had that thing on Jack the Ripper being a demon at this point in time.
History Channel during the day is Jack the Ripper a demon. At night,
Well,
Jack the Ripper an alien.
it's it's weird because if you usually did History Channel, if you did like documentaries, they did have it, but for whatever reason, people didn't care about that as much as the conspiracy theory documentaries that they had from like aliens to myths to monsters and all that stuff. How I learned about that because I was like, ooh, documentary, and then
Did
all that is
aliens
yeah,
use radiation beams to impregnate Mary Magdalene?
yeah, all
What?
that, yeah, all that stuff. I guess
Yeah.
that's what gets the ratings. So
Oh, the greatest stuff on History Channel is anything after you take an edible and wait an hour. You're like,
mhm.
man, just hit me with it. Hit me with it, boys. I'm ready to absorb all this in here and see what my brain says. That's an experience some of you guys might want to look into. But the experience we have for you at hand is our podcast, of course. So without further ado, we're going to get into the first topic. So let's get to that. What kind of week would it be if we didn't have some dumb decision by WB? So this is going to be a twofold conversation. One, super negative. The second one, negative and positive. So let's talk about the cancellations because
Mhm,
boy, the Authority,
mhm.
Swamp Thing, Booster Gold, Paradise
I mean,
Lost.
the only one that makes me like kind of sad and upset is Swamp Thing because I really wanted to
Same.
see what they could do with that. The other ones is just like I can see what Gunn and them were trying to do is go out there with franchises that people may have
Yeah.
not known are really niche, but in the grand scheme of things, probably wasn't gonna make it to full production
Well, also
because
like
of
the
that issue.
monkeys is Waller. Waller, I forgot. I was like,
Yeah.
that seems like a surefire thing after Peacemaker and Creature Commandos. Waller should be so simple to put together. Like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Like it's just really weird because it's like you said, some of these projects were really like you wanted them to happen, but for some reason they can't. I guess it's because of how they're trying to put their slate together and how things are going for multiple fronts. Especially, I don't want to talk about it too much, but on all fronts, be on animation and the video game front, trying to merge all these three mediums into one coherent, universe that they're trying to do. It is a lot harder than they made it seem, and it is turning out to be like that.
I found it weird because amid all these cancellations that they're announcing, and talking about how they're having a hard time getting these projects off the ground, they confirm 2 films a year, 2 live action shows a year, 2 animated shows a year, standalone animated films, and then video games every couple of years. I'm like, you guys are already out Marvel Studios, and you put out 1 project that's animated.
Yeah,
that's wild,
Yeah, because if you just take like what you said, if you just take a little, like a quarter of that being like video games and animation, I don't know how they reasonably. Because I was thinking about it, I didn't know how reasonably they could actually do that in a reasonable time. Because depending on the animation style, it can take anywhere between like 3 to 5 years to get something off the ground, and to get it with quality control and not rough cuts. Because I've seen in some animation where they get pushed out like almost within a year, and it's like it's rough where things are still PNGs sliding across.
That's what we learned about Creature Commandos. They want the second season out there because it's overwhelmingly positive. And I'm like, you know what? You probably can expedite that. Some of the other things you're working on, fine. I get some things are going to fall apart. This is in contrast, though. Like I posted in the CBC group a year ago, almost to the date. James Gunn was like, "What makes DC Studios operate better than Marvel Studios is that we're not announcing or greenlighting anything until we're confident it's getting made and have scripts."
I'm like, but he did announce a couple things and they got canceled.
Gunn, you just said, Waller, you can't nail the script, and you've tried multiple times. So, I get it. He's a studio man now. He's got to kind of lie. He's got to do the Kevin Feige thing. He's got to master saying nothing while trying to say something. He's really got to learn that.
Yeah, because it's like there's only so much you can do with people like nagging you about what's coming next, and there's only so many times you can say, "Oh, just keep your eyes peeled." We're working on a bunch of stuff. There's only so much you can do, and I get it with investors and the like, and they want to hear about potential projects to get more investor money going into them. It's hard to keep people's attention when every time you announce something and within let's say like 2 years it's not going anywhere because you can't agree on things and where the project is headed, so you cancel it. So why would a person be invested in what you're potentially going to put out when you guys are just doing this again, but I guess more methodically?
This is a repeat of what happened with the Snyderverse. Remember, they came out, announced the whole slate of things. Like, we're going to make these, but they weren't moving forward at all with half of them, which then brings us to Lanterns. We got our first look.
It's cool. I thought they give more things to look at than one picture, but
in my opinion, and I've seen the sentiment echoed a lot, this was a terrible first look because does it pass the test? My wife is a perfect candidate for this. She comes home, she loves comics, she knows all these characters, and I was like, he hasn't seen the Green Lantern photo, so I'm gonna try this. So I put it up on the phone. I'm like, what is this? And she's looking at it. I don't know. And I was like, okay, here's another one. It's a dark, grounded series set on Earth in the Deep South. She was like, are they rebooting Terminator? What is this? I don't know. I was like, look at the ring. She goes, and I had to zoom in. She goes, oh, that's Green Lantern? I was like, and that did not pass the test because you can't, unless you saw that from the DC page or somebody told you. I'm sorry, that's a terrible first look at Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that with casuals. If you're talking about this is going to be a superhero special TV show thing, and it looks like a generic TV show for something. Like it looks like it's on the page of Supernatural. If anyone
If you were
can
to
get that, yeah,
slap True Detective on the bottom of that, I
yeah,
would believe it. I would be like, yeah, that's True Detective. Yeah,
yeah.
that,
I mean, I get what they were trying to do with the gritty, grounded thing and putting it in Deep South, which
yeah.
can offer up some reasoning for people finding out, there's like quote unquote monsters and that they're, they're
Mhm.
aliens, and that's how they're gonna find out what they need to find out. But they needed to have at least like one of them have something related to
Like,
them being in the Lantern Corps.
what if Hal, he has the jacket, but what if instead of his shirt, the suit is underneath it with the Green
Yeah,
Lantern logo or something? You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay. And like the ring may be glowing. Or
yeah,
also like the first picture of Superman, him
yeah,
putting the boots on with the thing behind him. That's
yeah,
clearly not a scene from the film that's going to play out like that. That was a
yeah,
test shot that they wanted out there
yeah.
before the leaks. Maybe a promo image of them standing there with their rings
Mhm,
lit up. Like the first image we got of Henry Cavill as Geralt,
mhm.
him in the dark, he's wearing the wig. At least it was something to go by.
Yeah,
This, again, I'm super excited for this. I've talked about this before. I have well over 800 Green Lantern comics. I love that
mhm,
lore. I love that world. This was a bad first impression, any way you look at it. Like,
yeah,
imagine if they announced, "Hey guys, here's the first image of Armor Wars, starring Don
mhm.
Cheadle as the new Iron Man War Machine," and it's just Don Cheadle walking down New York City. You'd be like, "Okay, that's just Don Cheadle getting breakfast.
Yeah,
What is this?" You know,
yeah.
like,
It's just like this. Just what is this, a new like rom com for Don
yeah,
Cheadle? He's just getting
like,
breakfast
uh,
because it's like for better or for worse, there's not technically for newer characters. There's not a lot of projects for the casual crowd to
mhm,
identify them and potentially say, "Oh, is this is this a new Green Lantern movie? Is this like a new Catwoman thing?" And that's where I question sometimes for promotion to where
yeah,
people they where the higher ups think that they can just put out the actors in a still photo and think that the casual crowd can pick them out and say, "Oh, this is for that new Green Lantern TV show that they're doing." And I'm like, "No, to me, it looks like it's just the actors, probably in some generic, probably either like a detective show or something like that,
yep,
and it's not what they're trying to advertise. That's why." Like they should have at least something else, even if it was just some CG on the
yeah,
photo.
100%, 100%. Like, they tested them in the suits
Yeah,
because they would have had to. So they got promotional images of the suits. Like, I don't know. I think this was a bad first impression. Hopefully, they'll take care of it when we get more down the road.
mhm.
I'm gonna remain optimistic. It's Green Lantern. I want this franchise to succeed. But
Yeah.
like the day before they drop,
Mhm.
having the showrunner and James Gunn and Safran all be like, well, this is going to be a super dark and gritty, grounded, realistic take on Green Lanterns. Don't expect a lot of fantastical stuff. You're like,
Oh, because like well, if they're saying that, that must mean that they're not going to be
oh,
suiting up for quite a while. And if it's only like 8 episodes, they're probably only going to suit for like 2 episodes for like 5 minutes a piece.
right. And like the thing with the budgets is people don't understand this. The CW did Superman and Lois.
Mhm.
And every time they use a lot of CG for Superman fighting even somebody for 4 or 5 minutes, each one of those episodes cost close to $9 million. Lanterns is probably in that same range. The entire season is going to cost 50 to 70 million. You're going to see Lantern action, and that's going to be the episode that's 10, 15
Mhm.
million. And then
Mhm.
there's going to be a lot. This is going to be like Marvel Netflix. Something happens, a lot of downtime, something happens, season is ending. Like it's,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they can have something happens. It's just that depending on what your version of what you want from lanterns is going to
mhm,
vary differently. It's either
yeah.
they're going to be using the ring powers, or for some reason they're going to be fighting hand to hand because you know the budget does not allow them
Oh,
to use the ring. So they're gonna say, Stewart knows boxing and Hal knows karate for some
the
reason.
power battery got destroyed, and they can only use it twice in the next 3 weeks. Oh, no.
Yep. Either that or the power battery is like in some is somewhere that's really remote, that they
Yep.
can't get to for
Yep.
certain reasons.
It's like we're limited with our powers. We only must use them when it's absolutely necessary. Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's like
fine.
the only thing, yeah, the ring is like so low on power. The only thing we can do is having like a detective mode to help us solve this mystery.
Yep. Well, with that out of the way, guys, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of the DC talk. We don't want to be too negative on Lanterns, so we'll come back to it when we got more
Mhm.
because we got other stuff to be negative about. Okay, not only is DC Studios canceling projects, this past week,
Mhm.
Marvel saw DC cancel things and said, what if we just go off the back of this and take less flack for it because we're also going to cancel a bunch of projects. So,
Mhm.
Moon Knight.
Yeah, that's like I don't like that because like for like how should I say this? For people who are fans, I know it's not the most correct or better adaptations of the character that they
Yeah,
know and love, but it was a good enough adaptation that got people interested in the character, and
yeah,
that interest right now is at an all-time high, including with the video
yep.
game Marvel Rivals, to the point where they even put in the unofficial memes of what
Where's
Moon
my
Knight actually
money?
says, yeah, in the game, and that they could course correct and make it a little more on point with the comics in Moon Knight too, because I did like that TV show for what it's
I
worth.
loved it. I
Yeah,
loved
didn't
it.
like some of the action sequences because of the dodgy CG,
Yeah.
but some of the other stuff I loved it, especially with like the Egyptian gods that you got to see
Yep.
that you thought they were just going to be people. No, they're people with animal heads, which I
Right.
liked when it came out.
And like, I get it. The series cost them over $150 million. They're in the business of now making $50 million seasons or less. So that's why you're getting more Daredevil.
Mhm.
But She-Hulk is obviously going to be canceled. Miss Marvel, that's a question mark. Hawkeye cost 120 million to
Mhm.
150. That's probably going to get canceled as well. Like, I mean, it's it's a wake up call to all streaming services because what they thought was, and we just saw Disney's projections. They thought by January of 25 they were going to have 275 million subs or somewhere about
Mhm.
there. They got 153 million. The line isn't going up. It's not going up for Netflix. It's not going up for anybody. There is
Yeah.
like video game consoles. They're
Mhm.
like, we can sell 300 million. The best selling consoles of all time, PS2 and Switch, are 160 million. That's the ceiling. PS5 is never going to hit that number. Like
Yeah,
it's just how it is, you
yeah,
know?
it's just weird. It's because of what happened with COVID, thinking that they can match I guess match the consumption to the output, which was very
Yep.
unrealistic, especially if you want to have quality over quantity. Because from
Right.
what we've seen for these past 4 or 5 years, people want quality, not quantity. Because yeah, who wants to watch something that you can see needs some more time and investment into making it the best that it can be versus, oh, I can watch all these She-Hulk episodes within a year after they made them. No, I'd rather them take 2 to 3 extra years to get it right and
Mhm.
have something else as a buffer that costs a little bit less that they can reasonably do that offers almost the same quality as something
Like
like a She-Hulk.
that's the thing. Like I love She-Hulk. People know that about me on this series. I mean, I think it's great. Like I love it. I wish we could get
Mhm.
more. But I've been saying on this channel ever since Marvel Studios merged with Marvel Entertainment and shut down all the TV division. It's never going to work, and you need the old TV model. You need the 12 to 20 episodes a year that you can do it every year, the classic
Mhm.
model. Each episode's a couple million, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Cloak and
Mhm.
Dagger, Runaways. You need that to feed the content. You can't take 3 years between seasons. And Marvel Studios just said everything we renew, it's got to come out on a yearly basis or we're not doing it. It's like, yeah, the TV model the last 70 years told you this. Why did you think you can reinvent the wheel and suddenly go, what if we produce one season every 3 years and it costs us the cost of 6 seasons of a normal show?
Yeah, it's like I know it's a money thing, and I'm thinking that people would consume whether the quality was there or not. And it was a rude awakening to show that no people want quality, and that you're gonna need I guess a helping of both of a regular TV show model and one that has the budget of like a small movie or a mid-sized movie to coexist, so you have something that can, or some projects that can go on a turnaround of like 2 to 3 years while you work on other things.
That's the thing. Like, Marvel Studios should be putting out 2 to 3 shows a year that are yearly, like Daredevil and other shows, and then every 2.5 years put out a prestigious mini series that's limited. That's where Moon Knight should be. Every 3 years, we should have a Moon Knight prestigious series that's $150 million that they perfect, and they want that to be the focus, and that bounces off of everything, but they've now gone the completely opposite way. And you look at something like what Disney's done with Star Wars. That's a prime example of, what were you guys thinking? The cheapest episodes you're producing are $25 million a pop for Acolyte, and most of the episode that costs $25 million is shot on location on Prague. Why, or Portugal? Why didn't you just shoot it on a volume? You did it with Mando and it worked. The money mismanagement at Disney needs to be studied. It really needs to be studied.
Yeah, it's that, and it's like directors like trying to get what they think is the best option to get the best product. So if someone says they need to go international to to shoot on location, they're gonna fight for that, even if it doesn't really make sense financially, when you can probably do it for half of the budget for what they need. Because you gotta not just ship the production crew and the actors, you gotta get all the set stuff, unless you want to have them build it there. But yeah, it's just really weird right now. I would prefer it to have some regular syndicated TV shows that you not necessarily need to have superpowers in it, but you can have a detective show or just something that bridges the gap between stuff, that shows that this is a world, and we're fleshing it out. And you may not see all these superheroes and stuff, but you'll get references, and you'll get some looks at what potentially could be happening in other shows.
And you think Disney would have learned from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Remember, ABC was like, hey, we're ending Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with season 5. And Disney stepped in. They were like, actually, you're doing 3 more seasons, because that show makes us money and it keeps interest in Marvel. Why haven't we had Jimmy Woo starring in Agents of Atlas? Why isn't that like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where he's like, hey, guys, I got to go investigate this paranormal thing over here. Oh, hi, Shang-Chi. Or hi, whoever, that's popped up elsewhere that's not going to break the bank, Or when they're shooting a film, you bring him in, and he's kind of doing a side project episode. They did that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. perfectly fine. It's truly a wonder how they've lost their way by thinking, if we just make $200 million TV series, we're going to pull in $200 million subscribers. It's like, no.
I wonder how, if they could do a Squirrel Girl series, because technically all they would have to do is worry about the tail, because her ears are fake, so that they got that really easy.
And I've seen cam girls; they figured out the tails too. So you see it online. It's like these cam girls that also do.
I've seen
tail. There it is.
Yeah, I've seen the cosplay of them. They got them pretty good. Yeah. And with what they although they can't really do so much on the fantastical side, they could potentially use her to explore the MCU in quotations here, the 616, about what's happening, what's going on, and what can possibly happen into the future, and use it as a basis for one of the regular shows that potentially they don't have to use a lot of money, so they have a show to buffer between the major projects.
Yep. So. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they need to figure out their way. Look, when we find out what the future of Marvel TV is, probably this year at San Diego and some other, we'll talk about it, but it's looking like we know exactly what we're going to get. You're going to be getting Daredevil, lower budget projects going forward, which isn't bad, but it's not everybody's liking,
Yeah.
So we'll get back to this soon enough. And finally, our big final topic of this show is the future of Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige. So this is an interesting one because a couple days ago we heard head of Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy is leaving. She quickly rebutted this now in a major statement. First, it was to CNN, but people are like, "That's a lie," and she's like, so she just said, "I'm not retiring." And at this time, rumors were Kevin Feige's being lined up to take over, but now it's Kevin Feige might just be looking to leave once he's produced X-Men. He wants to produce X-Men and then leave. Like
Well,
that's his like end goal, you know?
But yeah, but at that point, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna like leave in like 15 to 20 years.
Well, okay. To be fair, he only wants to produce the first one, you know? And
Yeah,
kind
I
of
know. I'm
take
just
it
saying,
over.
it's like at the rate they're going, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave in
Yeah.
like 10 to 15 years.
So
I was like, okay.
it's an interesting thing to look at because this would make sense to me. Kevin Feige got started in the business
Mhm.
with Richard Donner and his wife, Laura Donner, the Superman people, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
They brought him on as a low-level executive to get their coffee, to get him into the business, starting with X-Men 1. And he was the one that was like, "Hey, let's make this more like the comics." And they're like, "No, Kevin, nobody's going to like that."
Yeah, isn't
Almost
like
30 years after, imagine if he puts out X-Men in 2030 right there on the spot. He's like, "Guys, I've been doing this for 30
yeah.
years. I can now walk away forever." You know, it's like,
Because
yeah.
like I'm trying to remember, it's like wasn't it like X-Men 1 where he was trying to sneak on stuff to the set,
Yep.
trying to getting
I
some of
mean,
the actors to some vague notion of how the characters would react in certain situations
Hugh
and stuff like that.
Jackman revealed during the press rounds of Deadpool and
Yeah.
Wolverine, he would individually sneak actors over, be like, "Hey, this is what your character does in the comics. Don't tell him, but try to do it like this." And Singer never picked up on it up until Hugh Jackman was like, "Can we wear the comic suits?" And Singer was like, "No, those are dumb." And they knew their limitations, you know? So, like, you know, Kevin leaving
Mhm.
would make me worried for Marvel Studios. But I I think somebody like Brad Winderbaum,
Mhm.
who's been doing TV and been there side by side since like the early MCU days,
Yeah.
I think he shepherded him into the takeover, man.
Yeah,
Quite
it's
obviously, you know.
yeah. With the potential of Kevin Feige leaving, you would hope or would want someone to have a similar vision to what Feige had, in that trying to find a compromise between a modern take on an adaptation of these mythical heroes, not so much saying that, like, we are going to have them one to one as their comic counterparts, and not so far detached from saying, yeah, we're not doing that because that part of the character is dumb and fantastical and no one wants to do that, or the costume itself, depending on what it is too dumb, no one's gonna like get attached to that or even like that. You need someone that can have a middle ground with what Feige has been trying to do, or has done with certain things. Like I for one wasn't like, I wasn't thinking we would ever get like almost super accurate comic suits until I saw, Captain
Right.
America and the Winter Soldier, where I saw Sam's suit, which was like 1-to-1 the comic,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, that's amazing. And
Mhm.
that's what some suits transfer very, very well into live action, while others you'd have to adapt it to a modern sense because it may not be, I guess, to what the sensibilities of how material are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that. But like these rumors saying that Feige's either gonna leave or he might go to Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, he might. But if he's saying that he wants to do X-Men, we're probably not gonna get X-Men until like 10 or 15 years. So he's gonna be there for another 10, 15 years. So I'm like,
Like,
it's like an event. It's like, we're gonna tell you that he is leaving eventually. And I'm like,
right.
okay.
Yeah. I think honestly, he's gonna produce X-Men, put that into motion. Once the universe is reset, he's gonna lay them a blank template, introduce X-Men,
Mhm,
and then he's out. He can
mhm.
like people don't understand. Kevin Feige and the rest of his family lineage, as far as they live, they will never have to do anything again.
Oh
His
yeah. Oh yeah.
royalties from the MCU will be attached to everything. Any project they move
Yeah.
forward, like how Bill Finger and Bob Kane are credited for Batman still, and their
Yeah.
estates make million a year, like millions a year. That's Feige from this point on. He could literally quit today. He's going to make $30 million next year.
Yeah.
To him, it's nothing, So he's doing this with passion, and I think he's realized that maybe it's probably going to be time because, like, at some point, he probably just wants to relax, Like,
Yeah, it's like after you've done mostly everything you potentially wanted to do, there's if you don't have anything that you're passionate to want to keep doing, it's like why why stay there if you're just going through the motions and you're not liking what you're seeing. So
right.
it might as well, be time to retire or go to a different division. Like what some people were saying with the rumors that, if he is tired of the Marvel set, he'll go over to Star Wars because he's always wanted to do or promote or produce a Star Wars movie.
And like, also, I remember people were bringing up who could replace Bob Iger. We know that there's going to be an interim CEO that's probably going to last 3 to 4 years. Could Kevin Feige, do they have it? And does he have the aspirations? Could he become Disney CEO? Like, that's a possibility.
That is very interesting because if he is, then you'd get some really, really interesting projects that you wouldn't probably have gotten because, of a certain CEO is saying, we're always doing it this way. This is what we're going to do. We're going to keep doing it because it makes us money in the short term, not the long term.
Yep.
And, and if he does, then you probably would get like, if he has the vision for it, you could probably get more promotions for other stuff because like what people are complaining about, like for comics, people found out and through some research is that for better or for worse, Disney as a whole just doesn't have like a promotional budget for comics. That's the whole point for it. And that's the weirdest thing because people's on no one likes comics. It's like, no, they don't like promote it at all for the most part.
See, like DC at least figured it out. At the end of their trailers and TV spots, they highlight the comics that the story is influenced by. Marvel could do that, but they don't.
Yeah, because like for an example, I think it's not so much like for like a drastic example, comic fans in Japan, it's a niche, but the fans have made it some cons, and they actually had like writers and artists from the comic scene come over there and talk with fans, and for the most part, the only thing that they are upset about is that Marvel or the comics industry as a whole don't promote at all to them, and it's not. And from what they've said, they're not confused or anything by just jumping into a series midway because that's what they do from like manga with an anthology series where it could be chapter 2 on one series, but you got like 4 or 5 other series that you probably won't read, but you have the book, so you might as well just finger through it to see what's happening, and you might like it and keep reading.
I mean, if you look at their animes and mangas like Macross, aka Robotech, in the over in our area, there's something new every year. At this point, the continuity so far is just jumping at any of them because you can't go all the way back to the 80s and start catching up with like 13 different series and 25 films. It's
that's just what it is that they're not born to that aspect of just jumping into a series if they like it, because from what I've seen from the comic shops over there, they have series from like the 70s and 80s, and they're eating it up because they like that stuff, and that's what I hoped from a new CEO, especially with Feige, where there is a renewed interest and investment with a lot of their IPs, and that we would see more animation side, and that would promote the products, and then we could see more promotion that promotes the products in an interesting way, and not just one little ad on YouTube that gets like 20,000 views and no one ever sees it.
Yeah, it's wild to me, but again, their thinking is different. So maybe Kevin can fix this up down the road, or maybe not. I don't know. When we find out more about him, it'll be years from now. And I assume it's not going to be a sudden thing. They'll announce that he's leaving because it's going to be a big deal. So when we get to that, when, we'll talk about it. So stay tuned for more. And that has actually brought us to like the end of the main show. 3 topics, would have been 4, but we joined the Green Lantern and WB stuff. Obviously, we are going to be doing more members topics, guys. We're talking
Mhm.
Punisher Disney Plus special and the Wonder Woman game. So stay tuned. I suggest you guys join us for those. Also, shout out to everybody that enjoyed my long rant
Mhm.
on what's going on with a lot of stuff, but specifically nerd fandom. Some
Oh,
people
that one.
were somebody I did a rant and
Mm.
people were like, "Oh my god, this might be a record amount of F-bombs you've ever dropped." I was kind of fired up. I was a little
Mm.
high and I saw an article by a grifter and I was like, "I'm just going to unload on this." So, it was a
Mm.
good experience. So stay tuned everybody. I'll be doing more of those.
Mm.
Stay tuned. So, we're going to get to the bonus topic. So, thank you for joining us once again. Hopefully next week
Mm.
Mitch Oliver Twist will be back with some clues as to what's going
Yeah.
on in
And
London.
and Ricardo, I think, but I'm not entirely sure. So.
Ricardo's been hired to be The Rock's personal champion.
Oh
Anytime
yeah.
The Rock does anything, Ricardo's like, "You did it, good boy. You did it." It's true. It's true. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back later. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will. And if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching and have a good one.